Hey everyone, and welcome to our series on how to tell a story. Whether you're telling a joke, telling a fairy tale, or trying to persuade someone with a little empirical evidence, telling a story well is an important skill. While it comes naturally to some, for others, this skill is a learned one. Never fear. You can learn to tell a better, more engaging story with me as your guide. The last video in our series is about getting it right, turning a good story great and a great story unforgettable. The best way to get a story right is to practice. Practice telling a story a few times before you tell it to anybody else. Then practice a story with just a few people who don't matter too much before you tell it to somebody who's really important. Really learning a story is like learning the lyrics to a song. The more you listen, the more you practice, the closer you'll sound to the original artist. So you want to try to get as comfortable as possible while telling the story, and getting a good feel for when to add dramatic pauses and when to engage in that big, building tone of excitement. The second thing you can do is memorize your story. Make sure that you know your story forwards and backwards, and then focus on the details when you're telling it. This is to help keep you from missing important details that might be really relevant to the story. It also helps you keep the story consistent across tellings, which is important if someone is likely to hear that story more than once. Another way you can get it right is by being authentic. Don't turn your stories into fish stories. You know the ones, where each time you tell it, it gets more dramatic and more epic, and the details change to become more mythic, and characters become less and less real. Listeners tune out when they hear you tell a story like this. Reel that fish back in and keep your story feeling authentic if you want people to really enjoy it and feel like they can connect with it and get something from it. Another important thing is to control the environment. You want to tell your story at a good place and at a good time, if you can. Even the best story can be ruined if you have to constantly stop because of distractions. Make sure the environment isn't too distracting or noisy. And if someone tries to steal the focus or steal the attention, direct it right back to you. Another thing you can do is allow for interaction. A listener's experience of a story gets even better if they're able to interact and join in the experience. If you really want to step up your storytelling, you can ask your audience questions or find other ways for them to interact with the story. And the final way to get it right is to respond to your audience. The most important skill to work on is being able to respond to your audience. If they start to get bored, wrap it up or step up the pace. If they're really enjoying a particular part, build on that. If they're laughing, give them room to laugh. It's tricky, but telling your story around the experience of your audience will make you a storyteller that no one will forget. Getting it right isn't easy, but it sure is worth it. So remember these 6 things to help you get it right the first time, every time. Practice. Memorize your story. Be authentic. Control the environment. Allow for interaction. And finally, respond to your audience. Storytelling is a skill like any other. Practice doesn't make perfect, but it does make better. Using these techniques, by the end of your story, your listeners will have something to remember, something to picture in their mind, and something they'll never forget. Congratulations on making it through our series. Thanks for listening, and I hope to hear a story from you sometime soon.